Welcome back to the M&M podcast. We're at episode 2 now.
Yeah, M&M. I think we're going to stick with it.
I like M&M. I'm just hoping we don't get sued by the candy company, but I think they'll be okay.
We've been advised by our very intelligent producer that I think we should be all right.
Absolutely.
There's a line in the middle. We should be fine.
We've got our niche. They've got their niche. I think they've had their time in the light, you know?
Go away.
They can go away. Yeah.
I was about to say something a little more aggressive.
Yeah, right. We'll say go away. That's a nicer way of putting it.
Yeah, so I guess we should get back into the market update to start, right?
Yeah, we're here. So obviously last week we gave you guys some stats. So I've got some more stats for you.
More so in the last couple of weeks.
Right? Right? I think we did a monthly of December. So now we're looking at now that we've hit past mid-January, we're at the 16th today. We're looking at some data between the 1st of this month and the 15th.
Got it. Okay.
Why don't we just kick it off? Currently, and by the way, just as a reminder, we're here in Northern California, so we're talking about Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties kind of combined here. That's our local market where we do a lot of our business, help a lot of people. So that's where we like to pitch to, but maybe that'll change. We'll see. You guys let us know. For now though, so given those counties, Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado, we're looking at current for sale, 2,241.
Okay. And last week, I'm pretty sure, I think the month over month last week was like around 2,400.
Yeah, month over month. So it was 2,468. So we're looking at a little less, right?
We got some buyers out there.
We do. We have some buyers out there. So good sign. Sold, we've got 327.
The last 2 weeks?
Last 2 weeks.
That's pretty high. That's pretty impressive. Actually.
Yeah. 327.
That's where that number came from then.
Just in 2 weeks. So stuff's starting to move. You know, we're looking at that seasonality changing from obviously the holidays, December.
Right.
We're past New Year's. Everyone's finally like, I guess I can't not go to work anymore.
And rates improved. I think that also helps too.
That absolutely helps. And those who are out there looking to buy are still looking to buy. So I think they're ready to move. They ran out of excuses. It's time to go.
Yeah, man. All right. So rates. Let's look at conventional. We're looking at the low to mid 6, depending on who you work with. We're at right around the 6.25. The average around here is right around 6.5. FHA, mid to higher 5s, which is cool. We're back in the 5s. And then VA is going to be in the mid to high 5s as well. So we're looking good there. They really haven't changed all that much from last week, which is nice because it was so volatile for so long, which is not normal at all for the 10-year treasury or the mortgage-backed security to move that volatile. But I'm saying it's good. And I think it's been going down because of the recent inflation data, because our inflation did go down a little bit. We still got some room to work with. Sure. Obviously, normal is 2%, but I think we're hovering over 6% still. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, let's get more into the open house because I think I like the boots on the ground aspects of the market updates because, 2-week update, we always want to give you guys an update, but I think boots on the ground really gives like a realistic approach. Data is data, but boots on the ground is going to give you like the real perspectives.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Data's data, but really when it comes down to real estate, we're dealing with people here. So what are the people saying? What are they thinking? So
it's a people business.
Absolutely. We had open house over this weekend. I think you did 2 days.
Yep, Saturday and Sunday.
Right. And so we were working with a listing in Rockland. We were at a price point about $520,000 was where we were listed at.
So a good price range.
Yeah, we're looking at a good price range. I would say that's close to average in Sacramento, in Placer County, Sacramento, El Dorado.
I would say in terms of probably the average homes that are being sold.
Yes.
Placer County can get definitely expensive. But for me, right now, I really wouldn't want to do an open house that's over $1 million. I would like to do more so in between that 400 and 600 because that's where majority of people can still afford it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I'd say that 500, 600 mark is definitely kind of a sweet spot of where things, again, speaking more anecdotally here, like boots on the ground.
Yeah.
What I've noticed when I do open houses, just how busy it'll get, certain price points that I host them, I notice that range is pretty consistent, assuming that the house is kind of dialed in with its appeal, how it looks, is it priced correctly based off of the neighborhood around it. But this was a really, really good one.
And it was an interesting one because it was on for a little while, but then there were upgrades that were done to the property. So that was cool.
Yes, very cool because it was listed last year, I want to say somewhat early last year, but but
it's been over 6 months. I do know that.
Yeah, so it's been in that spot that a lot of sellers are seeing right now in this last year in particular, of that problem where, hey, bill down the street sold for X amount, right?
Yeah.
And so people are going on the market and they're expecting that thing, but it happened right when the market shifted, right? So it's a perfect case scenario of what you have to do to a listing now. And I think they did the right things.
Yeah.
They absolutely did, which is great. So, it's like a lot of feedback we got earlier was, hey, let's do the kitchen, let's do the bathroom,
Right.
let's do this, or people were worried about that. And so they did it. They remodeled the kitchen, remodeled the bathroom.
And the listing agent was suggesting that too.
Exactly.
And I think that goes to show, like, right now, it's very, very important for who you work with, because things in 2021, I don't want to diminish anyone's job, but you could list it with pretty much anyone, it would get off the market.
Sure.
I mean, realistically.
Yes.
But now we're back in normalcy. It really takes someone that understands buyer and property demand, what in order to get the property sold, priced correctly. If there's any necessary improvements, you can't just say someone else will take care of it. Someone might will, but usually they're going to lowball you and lower. So there's always compensating factors, and sometimes you just need to have an agent that's not afraid to tell them. They don't need to have to listen, but an agent's not going to be so afraid to tell them that this is my professional opinion. You don't have to follow it. However, I think this would benefit you and your properties selling at the price you want significantly.
Exactly. And I think, like you said, I would say even buyer appeal is a huge thing that an agent needs to know, right? They need to know what buyers are going to look for, what they appreciate, depending on what kind of buyer they are.
That's why I like the open houses so much, because you get so much feedback.
Absolutely. And that's what I love too. It's like I learned so much just from single open houses of one property, because just from people walking in the door, you see who it's attracting, right? Who's coming by just to even, because if they're in the door, there's 10 times more people that saw it and didn't come, right?
Yep.
So they're in the door. That means they're more interested than just seeing it. So seeing what kind of buyers that type of property is attracting, you learn a lot from that. And then just getting feedback on what they thought about the property, what they would change if they could. Is the price right for them, or do they feel like it should be higher, lower? So it's good things to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm always, from the mortgage side of things, I'm always curious on how many people are pre-approved. Majority of the people that come in usually are. And I think that's just because most people know someone, and there's not a ton. However, Saturday really opened my eyes that there are buyers out there. I think we had about 12 to 13 groups over 4 hours, which right now, if you were to tell another agent, hey, I guarantee you 13 people will walk through, anyone would take that open house.
Yeah.
It was great. And I think that was a combination of buyers are coming back on after the holidays, after New Year's, and also the property improvements was huge.
Yes.
And the price. It's a good price area. And I think that's where there's not a lot of buyers in maybe certain categories of pricing.
Sure.
But there are still buyers for, like I was saying, the 400 to 600, because those are the couples that have combined income, or the bachelor that's been working for 3 to 4 years. He's making really good money.
Absolutely.
But I would say majority of the people are usually couples.
I think the combined income with that $400,000 to $600,000 range is feasible for median income, right? For combined median household income. So that's why I say it's kind of the sweet spot for at least our area, what I'm noticing. And that's where you're going to get a majority, usually with the couples, that's a majority of our first time home buyers situation, right? So it's like, and those are usually the people that need the most help. They need some guidance.
I love first time home buyers so much. What I love about first time home buyers is that they are just all ears, and they are just sponges, and you can just tell they just want to learn, and you really feel like a valuable resource, which is nice.
Yes.
Have you worked with anyone that's kind of been on their second or third purchase, or?
Yeah. And I think with those, you get kind of 2 or 3 types, and one of them I'd say was good, and the others are kind of like, there's sometimes you might get a little like a snootiness to it a little bit.
I think it's more so. I can't deny that.
Right. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that I think that they think they already know because they've done it. The worst is when they purchase prior to 2008. Because back then it's not even the same. It's entirely different. 2010 is when they created the NMLS license. Fun fact, before 2008, you didn't have to have any sort of loan officer license in order to.
I don't think I actually knew that. That's crazy.
Crazy, right? So that's why a lot of people were hopping in, like people that were car salesmen, people who were working telemarketing, they would move over to loans because then they had the predatory lending,
right?
Which were the subprime loans, were essentially could be fixed for 1% for 1 month, and that's how they would sell it.
Right.
And then they don't realize that, it's fixed for 1 month, and then it can adjust pretty significantly thereafter.
Wildly, yeah.
Yeah, so it was an interesting time. So that's another thing. It's tough because some people, like I had an older gentleman. He's a nice guy, but he kind of is one of those where it's like it's his way, and it should be his way, no matter what the world is doing now.
Right, right.
He's like, I got $100,000. Why can I qualify for a damn loan? I'm like, it's not just about that, Patrick.
Yeah.
It's not. It's crazy to some people that you have to qualify. Like some people, it's predicated on they have a sizable down payment. You got to qualify for the loan itself. You need your income's got to be copacetic. You can't have tax returns that shows $0 in total income, net income. Like it's tough, especially the self-employed folks. It's the hardest because they're like, I make money. I'm just, you know what I'm doing. It's like, I know what you're doing. Yes. Taxes, you have write-offs in your business. I get that.
Right.
That's why we have bank statement loans for those reasons.
Right.
Which helps. But yeah, depending on the type of what they do.
To your point, it's like, back then pre-08, it was so easy to kind of, just make the numbers not really truthful, right? Or on possibly the buyer's end, right? But I'm sure the loan officers were also incentivized to just make it happen to get those commissions,
have you seen
right?
The Big Short? I think I've seen. Okay, you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Florida guy? I'm trying to think of like how he said it, but it was Schmidt from what's that show? I kind of want to look it up. My Girl. No. New Girl.
New Girl.
Thank
New
you.
Girl. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. They were in the bar. It was to kind of give you a little brief summary of the situation. They were trying to figure out what was going on because they were approached by a gentleman to short essentially the housing market. Essentially
bet against that it would crash essentially and try to make
which was crazy to say because it was historically it's never crashed. It's the safest investment that you could possibly do, the mortgage-backed security. So they're trying to do boots on the ground. They're trying to talk to local mortgage brokers in different states, and they went to Florida, and they were joking around about how pretty much everything was just a complete lie. It was like the credit couldn't be bad enough for this guy, and then he would have they would talk about like the majority of the people qualify, they're strippers, but at the time when you have a stated income loan, I mean you could put whatever you want on there because they're not required to check it.
Wow. So there was just they just knew that it was just destined to fail because of that.
When so many people default on their loans, that then translates over.
Right.
Yeah, it's a trickle-down effect. People started mass leaving their homes. It's a whole thing. But if you have not seen The Big Short, regardless if you're interested in real estate or not, movie. It is a great movie. Yeah. And the wonderful Margot Robbie explains subprime mortgages, and I loved it. I won't give you the exact scene. I won't, but gentlemen, you would enjoy it. To put it lightly.
Man, I might have to review the Big Short. It's been a while, I guess.
It's a good one. It's in my top 3. I just think they did such a good job explaining such a very, very technical, but it really wasn't technical when you present it the right way.
Right. They made it very digestible to people that maybe wouldn't.
Kind of like kind of like my gig. It could sound really particular, but if you explain it correctly, they're like, oh, that's not that bad.
Right.
It's not that bad. We're talking about 08, people were kind of not being very professional and stuff like that.
Professionalism.
Right. And also, let's start with professionalism, but I also definitely want to talk about being young in the industry.
With any industry, with just people in general, it's easy to judge people, right? It's easy to put people in bins, categories, things like that. But talking about professionalism, it's just a topic I kind of wanted to talk about. I was thinking about it lately. Like, what does it mean to be professional? Let's start it with that way. Let me ask you, how would you describe if someone said, what is professionalism?
Actions speak louder than words. So for instance, I have a rule. I think I've told you a couple of times. No matter what, someone calls me and I don't answer my phone. Most of the time, 99% of the time, I'll text them and say, if I can't answer, I'll give you a call right back. But my rule is bare minimum, within 2 hours, I get back to you. So I think that having something firm like that really keeps you accountable, and that also shows professionalism. Communication is huge.
Yeah.
Even if it's not something big, like for instance, if I'm working with a new agent, I'm going to communicate the hell out of the transaction.
It's crystal clear. You're right.
And for the clients, this is the one thing with lending that I think really gets missed is trying to be available as much as humanly possible. All in all, I'm kind of crazy. I'll usually go from like 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m. I mean, realistically, most people are winding down after 9 p.m. anyways.
That's a good 13 hours right there. Yeah.
For me, it's like in our industry, I mean, most people that we work with are usually going to be working 9 to 5.
Yep.
So why would I work only 9 to 5? It only makes it more stressful for them to work and try and get documentation over to me in order to get them pre-approved or clear conditions for their loan, et cetera.
Right.
So why would I want to make their life more difficult to then work with me?
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the time it gets missed. So I think for those are usually my 3 things. And also I think dressing the part is always good too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Long answer.
Yeah. It's a great answer though. Absolutely. I agree. I'd say it has to do a lot with, and I think you were touching on this with just the fact that you have rules for yourself. I think having rules for yourself and sticking to it and being disciplined about it, that shows strong character. And I think that's really, to me, that's what the essence of professionalism is. I mean, it's dressed up in business attire. We're talking about usually some type of business context.
That's just a sprinkle. People can tell that you're professional just by the way you speak.
Exactly. Yeah. The way you speak, and then like you said, actions are louder to words. If you say something and you mean it and you do it, then it's like all those things have to line up. Yeah, exactly. You have to do your best at least to make it where the things you say and the things you're going to do are just as certain as the sun coming up and the moon coming up the night. Sun coming up in the day and the moon coming up in the night. So
I have an aggressive take. Not so much, I wouldn't say, but I think kind of a red flag is when you always have to reaffirm someone that you are, say like a good person, like I am a good person, or like or like, you know what I mean? Like you're cold calling someone and you keep saying that I'm really good at what I do. Like, trust me, I am. You're not that good at what you do, are you?
You're kind of digging your own grave.
If you're having to say that to someone, it's almost like saying your thoughts. You know what I mean?
You're kind of pointing out the underlying feeling, right? It's like there's a lot of, I almost call it like sub-communication, where it's like there's a lot of things that are being communicated under the surface that we pick up on way faster than I think our senses. I think our senses help us channel that, but it's just a subconscious. We get feelings about people just based off the first. I mean, I don't know what the stat is, but I think there's something like we can cast thoughts and judgments on first meeting people in the first seconds, right? Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. So
yeah. I mean, I remember when I met you, it was like we clicked immediately. I was like, this guy is. Like we vibe immediately.
I don't think we've even known each other. Has it even been a year?
No, I don't think so.
And here we are doing a podcast. I mean, it makes total sense to us because we're like,
Xander.
Xander. Seriously, good friend of ours it connected us. Absolutely.
The first time was actually at Aloha Nights, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So it was a good context. It was a fun context for sure.
It was.
A lot of people in the business were having fun and chatting, networking.
Were you doing the hula dance with me?
I think we both were. Yeah.
Yes, we were. That was fun.
They made us do the hula dance.
Yeah, Aloha Nights. I'm on that committee this year too, and this guy is on YPN this year too. So
absolutely,
it's gonna that's another one. We can promote that up closer
YPN,
to the date.
Yeah,
it's a fun one. It's really fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have some good events coming here, and we're helping kick them off. Actually, the YPN, which stands for, by the way, those who don't know, Young Professionals Network, specifically at PCAR. Yep.
Placer County Association of Realtors.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and I think that's a good time to talk about. We were talking about professionalism and
being young.
So Young Professionals Network. So why would we even need a YPN? Why do you think? I think there's a few reasons.
Yeah, there's a plethora. I think, for one, community, knowing that you're not alone and there's other like-minded individuals that are ambitious in what they do. Also, being involved in something outside of work and also have a safety net to where you can reel back to work and get help from those other people. I think that's a good thing because it's kind of like a balance, because we have our mixers, and then we have also our serious education. Like we have on the January 25th, we have a panel of millennials actually.
Yeah.
And they're going to be talking about pretty much what they're doing in order to stay successful in this tough market. And I think it's just a good balance of that. And it kind of keeps the accountability live too. Because the more, how like the more you do, it almost translates over into allowing, like, I'm on schedule. Like I'm doing a lot of things, but I know they're in the right ways, productive. Because it's tough sometimes, especially in our business, especially starting. Yes, it's hard to find out where your time is best utilized.
Oh, you could spin your wheels so fast.
I had the toughest time with that in the very beginning because it was just like, I'm a young guy, I didn't own a home. Where do I go? I started with social media, and that's helped a good bit. But
I think a lot of people start with that nowadays because being our generation, that's the first thing we think of reaching out to a mass amount of people, right?
Yeah, I think that's important. But in my personal opinion, I think being one-on-one or just human to human is the most power driving.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Like, like you can't beat it.
Especially being like referred a deal and like in person, you're like, you get all giddy. You get all like, you're like, oh,
best feeling in the world.
Yeah. It's like, it just feels good. It's tough being young in our industry because you're always having to, what do you think?
I show more. I think earlier before we started,
you have to prove yourself more.
Yes,
than the other
there's
person.
a feeling. There's a feeling of, I don't want to say inadequacy because that's a little strong, but I'd say it's close to it. Where, like your point, when you're first starting out, you have a lot of insecurities about thinking, well, maybe I myself don't own a home, or maybe I myself, it's like I don't have a family, so how can I talk about having a family, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. You really have to sit back, calm down a little, and realize that you don't need all that to be successful and to do this job well and to help people, right?
I think the biggest thing, regardless of how old you are, is figuring out a system.
Yeah.
And also finding a support, having people that will support the crap out of you. Like, I'm sure, like, I take care of your loan. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And it's kind of a system to where it's like, okay, got a client. All right. They don't have somebody. All right. Slot him in. He's good to go. Rock and roll.
Right.
And it's not like you're
the peace of mind is
you're not
huge.
having to fumble or like, I think I know this guy that's in lending, and it's like you're always kind of stressed, and that kind of translates over to the client. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think that's another thing, but it's tough. I've had a couple of times where, especially usually it's older men, they're more particular. They kind of have the demeanor of, I know better, who are you? Right. Type of thing. And I was expecting that. I mean, I'm moving hundreds of thousands of dollars from point A to point B, and I'm also in charge of making sure that all their finances are actually in check to be able to qualify. So, I mean, there's quite a bit. I'm running their credit. There's just a lot of things personally that I deal with. Right. So there's another aspect. But I mean, on the real estate side, it's very similar. Yeah. It's not numbers per se, but it's also like, all right, are you going to put me in a position where you don't know something and then you could have screwed me because of that? Yes. You know what I mean?
You can get really tricky, or not tricky, but it's like you can definitely make mistakes when it comes to a contract if you do not understand that really well.
Don't get me wrong. I want everyone to ask questions, always. But there's sometimes you'll get the additional, like, are you sure, a couple more times. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Multiple times already before, but it is what it is. But I really do think that we have to prove ourselves more, and we work our tails off more than the next to be able to be differentiating. We have to present ourselves a little bit different than the guy that's been in the industry for 20 years and give them that additional customer experience. My biggest thing is always being available as much as possible. Because, like, you can send me a text at 8:30, I'm going to respond back to you with your loan question. And that you don't get that a lot of the time. And I think that's kind of a differentiating factor. My agents also market their stuff if they need help. Like, stuff like that. And if they need help with contracts, I can always help that too, even with the newer agents. Because I have a real estate license. However, I don't usually practice, but I'm always staying on top of it. Right. That's part of my real estate. That's always part of my loan transaction. So, but I mean, how has it affected you because I mean, you're in your 20s.
Yeah. In my late 20s. I still count.
That's right. You're still young.
28 this year. That's exciting. Very similar to what you're describing. I think really for me, at first, when you become a newer agent, I think with anything, I don't think it really goes away, but you have like an imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And so
I dealt with that.
So getting out of that is step one, or at least learning how to handle that so it doesn't interfere with you doing the best you can do.
For sure.
One of those insecurities, since we're on the topic of just age specifically, it's like, yeah, this is one of those industries where, you know, people will judge you based off your age because of the things we mentioned. But I think, at least in today's market, you have to look at it as an advantage of they might have the experience, they might have the connections, they might have the referrals because they've just been at it for longer. Man, it's like we have the drive, we have the energy. Gusto. Exactly.
We're fresh.
We have it's like, man, if I don't know that, I can find that out for you really quick. And I've got the time and the energy to go do it.
Be sweating, anxiety ridden, but in a good way, to where you want to make sure that you're going to be like, all right, we talked on the phone about a minute and a half ago, but I want to make sure I get back to him within 10 minutes. So I need to rush. I need to talk to my broker. I need to talk to my team lead and figure out what's going on here.
In that type of drive and that type of mentality, I don't know. I'm not going to name names or point fingers, but it's like guys like us, we're hungry. We're hungry to be seen, to get our business rolling, to be better.
Oh, yeah.
Guys that are a little more established, and gals, you know, they're a little more on the fat and happy side sometimes. You know, it's like they're not fat, not all of them.
I'm curious, have you ever had anyone almost push you off just because you kind of get the vibe they're like, all right, you young kid? Because there's
a little bit.
There was, I'm not going to name any names, but there has been a couple of instances on other originators where they kind of just like dissed me because I was the one thing. It was actually after, I don't want to timeline it too much, but it was after a lender report I did in front of PCAR, and I probably am like maybe 15 years younger than anyone that's ever done it. So I'm here to stay, right? And I ain't going nowhere, right? Got you for 3 minutes, right? Right. Spider-Man 1, but
oh, is that
3 minutes of playtime? I love Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire, original Spider-Man. Tom Holland's all right, I guess, but
the best.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like bullying, but it's, you know, like you have the clicky, you're like you're doing business, like who's this guy? It's almost I feel like, I don't want to toot my horn in a weird way, but I feel like sometimes if you're maybe been in the industry for a little while, maybe you've gotten a little bit more tired, you might be like, oh shit, this guy actually knows his shit and he's quick. Because they kind of get clicky and they kind of like, I try and talk to everybody. Because I was like, any industry. Because I like to get perspective from other people that are doing well. Right. But the one thing that I believe, who said this? It was Patrick Bet-David. I love Patrick Bet-David. He said that the people that are killing it in your industry, they're going to give you half of what they're doing, or they'll give you advice. Talk to the people that have been out of the industry for a little while, but were killers. That were killers in their industry at the time. That's why I love my dad so much. He's been in it for like close to 40 years. He was a killer. He had his own mortgage company. He had probably hundreds of agents that worked for, like, pretty much designated him as his lender. Right. He knows he's gotten it done, and it's nice to have that perspective because most people won't share. I mean, I'm sure you get that from some agents. Like, I mean, your team lead is awesome. Derek is great, and he's going to be supportive and talk to you. But exactly. But the other killers probably won't tell them what their secret sauce is, because why would they? Exactly. I think when you're newer, finding a mentor and setting up a team system or a system where it's just guaranteed you're incentivized to help each other. So important. That it just guarantees that you're both going to learn, you're both going to do good. You need some affirmation of some sort. Yes. Like, you don't need to be in a constant state of validation, but you also, like, that's why you have a broker. That's why you have the people that maybe is your team lead that's been in the business, has killed it, or is currently killing it. And I'm thinking about doing this. Like, for instance, like idea on a video. It was maybe like a sweepstakes or like something. Sure. But like, if you talk to your broker, you showed the video, he could say like, hey, I like the video, but that's actually out of compliance. That's technically not legal. But because some agents will sometimes do like pre-designated, like, if you do this, then I'll give you this type of thing. And it sounds like it's not a big deal, but you can't do it under the DRE. You just can't. Obviously, you don't want to do anything illegal, but you also want to make sure that you're not going to be saying anything silly in front of your client, because maybe you are working with a person that's bought 2 or 3 times. They actually know a good bit about it. So exactly. Yeah. They've been over those offers or contracts, or they know what's going on. It offsets your age, I think, when you have that person in your life. Absolutely. And those are people you could lean on for advice, and in those moments where you don't know it all, right? We don't. No. I don't. No one does. No, I try to.
But
it's not
we've got the
possible.
time. That's the other advantage. It's like, being young in the industry, we've got the time to learn that. We've got the time to just get better and better and better. We're doing it at a very fast rate.
That's right. That's right. Watch out.
But no, that being said, being young in the industry, it's got its own challenges, as I'm sure all the older agents and loan officers and people in the industry that are more seasoned in doing it, maybe they were young at one point too, if they've been in the game for a long time, right? Different time, but it's like I think we all go through it a little bit. So
that's why I kind of like that there is more regulation that just recently put in place in the last 13 years, because a lot of these guys that maybe had 25 years of experience, well, 12 of those years, they were probably doing a lot of subprime mortgages. So like everything changed after 2010. That's why having energy and drive on my end, of course, very much on your end as well, is things change, guidelines change. The Federal Housing Administration comes out with new information, and if you're not on top of it, you might hit a hiccup on your loan, and that could create some bad blood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
hiccups here can be quite the roadblocks, quite the obstacles later.
Yeah. That one little pebble in the road could turn into a pothole real quickly.
Yes.
If taking care of it the wrong way, or approaching it with the wrong intent, or
exactly.
what have you. So
just to wrap back around the open house, how do we feel just based off what we've seen? Feels like buyers are coming out, because of the Saturday.
I would say so. Yeah, it was crazy. I'm sure most of the people that are watching are in the Sacramento area. It's been raining for 2.5 weeks straight.
Yeah, weather is a factor.
And it was blowing on Saturday. And that's what was really surprising. But I thought about it. It's kind of a perfect time to look at a house, because what if leaks happen? Where you can see where water flows naturally. Like, what if it comes up to the back of your property and you might have a hazard position? So I think that's good. I don't know if that was necessarily the initial intent for the people, but I think they're probably happy, because I mentioned that with a couple of people. They're like, you're right, but there's no leaks. That's good. I would say buyers are coming out. Majority of the people that came in, majority of them were combined income. I didn't get too nitty gritty, but most of them were couples, indicating most likely. Yeah, the feedback was good. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people right now, if you have the ability to, right now is great. I really do think this spring is going to be bonkers. The one cool thing that one of the ladies that came in yesterday towards the end couldn't know if it was her husband or dad or what have you. What he was mentioning is that it's just nice now to be able to just take your time a little bit, take a night to think it over. It was just so wild for so long. To me, it just boggles my mind that people were making offers on homes they never even physically saw.
Yeah, it's just out of this world.
Insane.
Yeah.
You remember when he asked me, if would you do that? I was like, hell no.
Yeah,
are you serious?
Absolutely not.
It really comes down to most people like the neighbor things. Like, he was doing it and he was successful with it. I should do it too if I can do it.
Right.
So everyone just popped into that. But
right, yeah. If you can do it, do it.
Buyers are liking it. Obviously, interest rates are not as low as they were, but historically, we've never seen 2% rates ever. Ever.
Never once.
And the threes, very recently. I don't want to be negative. We might not even see twos for the rest of our lives. Threes, technically, it is possible, but we've never seen twos and threes ever.
Wow.
Isn't that? Yeah. So that's the one that kind of puts in perspective. I think our income started to get to a point where we're thinking about buying a home. And so other people were. So it was just like that perfect storm to where if you could buy, you can buy. And it was just the Fed just pretty much saying like, you know what? It's COVID. Let's see if we can stimulate the economy.
Yeah.
And it sure did.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Yeah. Yes, it did.
I mean, it's still crazy to think about.
So that's a good point too, because I think that was kind of my next question of neither of us have the crystal ball. We always say that. No one does. Hate to break it to you. But
I wish.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, but I can't find it. It's fun to guess. It's fun to see, speculate, right?
Educated guess.
Right? Just based off the data and trajectories and all that. I'm feeling like we're not really going to see those twos and threes. I'm thinking now that this market is normalizing, I'm feeling like just from conversations with people at the open houses and things like that, people are going to get used to this normalized rate. They're going to get used to that. Okay, this isn't, once this stabilizes, like you said, it's been very volatile, which is very uncommon. So that's why people are kind of like,
they don't know
what's going on.
They're like,
and people they're doing the weird rate dance.
Real estate, stock market, crypto. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything was so volatile.
And coming off of COVID, everyone's brain is just scrambled, right? They don't know.
Mine was, and I'm in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. We were all kind of
Still
like, we're just here for the ride, I guess. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we don't know, but it's feeling like if we could settle into this, we are going to see quite an influx of buyers getting in on properties probably this spring for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'd like for builders to continue building too. I think for them, the toughest part is builders are afraid to then start building right now because they're afraid. I mean, it's tough to build when you know there's a high likelihood that your property can depreciate as you build it.
That's
In a
wild.
weird way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like what was the opposite was happening in 2020 actually to refinance for a friend, and they purchased in 2020. What happened was really cool. They bought it pre actually manufactured.
Sure.
Not a manufactured home. It's a single family residence, but pre-manufactured.
Bought
if
the
you will.
lot, builder's
Right.
going to build it.
It appreciated as they were
As
it
they're
was
building
being
a
built.
brand new home.
It's really weird, but that happens to be the potential opposite now. So builders are tough. So it's kind of hard to gauge what their after repair value is, cost of goods, because
Right.
that's another thing. In terms of material costs, it's still relatively variable. It's kind of settled a little bit, but with supply chains kind of out of whack still a
Yeah.
little bit. It's still a little sketchy.
Right.
So builders need to continue to build. We need that because supply is still an issue, even though that buyers kind of slowed down a little bit in buying. There's always buyers, but not nearly as many.
You're right.
Supply definitely needs to improve. If we have rates in the sixes long enough, or it goes down to the high fives on average, on conventional, mid fives, what have you, people will get used to that. It's just what they remember in the short term. It's just still so recent. Money's money, and people make good money.
Yeah.
And everyone has a
Money is
story
money.
of how much their friend or how much they sold their property. Like, we didn't do anything, and it sold $100,000 over. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's still in people's heads. So, but I think people are getting to the understanding that it's just, we're here to stay for a little bit.
Yeah, the psychology of like, okay, we're starting to ease out,
Yeah.
normalize. Like I said, hopefully, right?
We're not going to see any crashes. We've been normalizing for months.
Yeah.
People haven't noticed. People are noticing that prices haven't been shooting up every single month. It's just been trickling down. There's just been more price drops. There's been average days on market. Another factor to consider is that a lot of sellers had that mentality of it's still 2021.
Yes.
So it was also an adjustment for sellers to understand, okay, I'm not going to get that much. I need to look more so on market data and maybe adjust it to a little under, so where they can kind of prop the interest a little bit. It's a
Yes.
different type of marketing.
Yes.
Like, you'd almost kind of throw it out there and see if it sticked back in the day. I'm sure there's a threshold of how high you actually go, but
Right.
things were getting sold. I'm like, it was sold for that much.
Yeah.
That was happening. You remember how it was happening
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
it's-
And the funny thing is that with 2021, the throw it out there and see what sticks mentality was, I mean, in that scenario, it's kind of the right play, right? You're noticing that things are going crazy, and in a way, to a point, right? You still have to do your data,
Yeah.
but I think the problem was a lot of agents were getting accustomed to that, or even
because it was an easy conversation. It was an easy listing appointment.
very,
It was
very,
not
very
tough to be like, you want to put it at that? Okay.
There's no, yeah,
But now,
it's
I
a
think-
lay down conversation.
And that's why I make the point that it's so important to work with the right agent that's not afraid to tell you what's up.
Yeah.
Tell you the facts. Because
Yes.
it's like, right, you have to be strategic. If you're only dealing with the easy stuff, then what are you going to, it's not all easy.
no,
Majority of stuff I get are hard.
Yeah.
That's the reality. First time home buyers, I mean, depends. Mm-hmm. But usually there's things you have to consider. You're working with probably higher debt to income ratios, so you're trying to make that work.
right.
And plug and play as you can.
Totally different game of how we have to approach listings on the agent side, where you have to prep them with the knowledge of, we're not in 2021. Like, if you really want to sell and you want to get the best out of it, the best price you possibly can, it's like it needs to be dialed in, at least for right now. Right?
Yeah. Or if you don't want to have your property dialed in, the price must
reflect that.
Exactly.
Because we're not in the buying off a picture market anymore, unfortunately.
No, it's still just so weird to me.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're kind of just word out, man. I mean, professionalism, just know. I mean, one thing I definitely want to bring up too is the if they're younger and they are following up with you, you've spoken with them and they've communicated that they would love to work with you, I recommend you giving them a shot.
Give them a shot.
And the reason why is because they have as we were saying, they have something more to prove. They are passionate, and most likely they don't have as many clients as some of these other folks have been in it for a while. So their priority is going to be you. I think that's huge, and it really makes a difference. I mean, I feel bad when I work with clients that maybe worked with something more big box.
Yeah.
Before, and it was more so just like they would never call me back. They wouldn't call me until like the next following day, like 24 hours later.
Right.
And things were just like particular. But like, I'm just so happy that, I mean, you get back to me so quickly if you don't answer, but you answer 99% of the time.
Having that reliability is just huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And it's just, I think that's the advantage too, to the big box. It's like you are a person that has their best interest in mind, and
true personalization.
Yeah, exactly. Give young people a shot. They will grind for you. They did not choose this industry, or at least stick to this industry, if they didn't realize it was hard and they had to put the work in.
There are some people out there that are crappy at their job.
Yeah.
But if they're young and they don't have the gumption, it is so obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. I've met a couple of folks, and it's been like, they're like, I heard it was a good place to make money. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's a good reason to get in this industry. It's so hard. It's not like that. It's like you don't just hop in for a couple of years and like, okay, I made my refinance money. I guess you could, but you're also most likely people aren't working with you because you have that attitude.
Exactly. And if it's not the clients themselves, it's just as important to be professional to your peers and your business to business, your associates, because it's people don't realize in one transaction it really takes a village. It takes a huge, so many hands, so many people to just do one transaction.
Yeah. I mean, you can really lay it out. You could go processor, loan officer, underwriter at the lender side, agent, title officer, assistants at title, and then you got county
it's like
recorder's office.
I mean, if you do like the main points, like you said, it's like, okay, you've got agents usually on both sides, two groups of two agents, loan officer, right? You've got inspectors, you've got the actual sellers you're working with, the buyers you're working with, and you've got, in all of those points, all of the families and the teams that are working with them so they can do their job right.
Systems.
Yeah, it's
a system of people.
So be professional, even if you're young. It's huge. That's what's going to give you the edge, really, I think, is being professional and grinding your ass off, because that is what's going to separate you.
Yeah.
You can make up for it.
Hit your open houses, hang out with buddies that have like mindsets.
Yep.
And another thing, too, go to the damn gym.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that's crucial just to keep
yourself healthy.
Keep
yourself healthy.
Yeah, discipline too. But I think that's another podcast. But I mean, I think that's it, Chrissy.
I think so too, Sammy.
Christopher, sorry.
You're good.
Christopher Marchand, I'm sorry. My co-host. And I am Samuel
Mr. Maurer.
Yes.
It was quite good. Well, hey, episode 2 in the books.
That's right.
I think that wrapped it up.
I think he'll do it, man.
All right. Well, another one in the book, Eminem Podcast. Hey, if you like the content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, depending on whatever you're looking at. And hey, if you're in the market, you wanted some information, either on the agent side, property side, loan officer side, we'd love to be a resource for you.
We got you.
Absolutely. And even if you just want to say hi, you just want to chat, do that too. We're just people.
We're people just like you. And we got
Believe it or
mics
not.
in front of our mouths. That's about it. And a camera that's shooting us right now. So
it makes us feel like celebrities, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. But yeah, man, I had a great time. I'm looking forward to doing the next one. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Episode 3. We'll see you guys next time.
That's right. Yep. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.